Imagine scuba diving in complete silence, no bubbles, with a machine that is providing the perfect mix of gas no matter what your depth, and will let you stay underwater longer than anything you've ever experienced. Welcome to Everything Scuba. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to the AP Inspiration Rebreather. For many years now, I've been kind of fascinated by rebreather diving. Didn't know that much about how a rebreather functions and what exactly does it do under the water that is different from open circuit. And so this is the start of a series of videos that we're going to bring you discussing rebreather diving. And on today's show, we're going to introduce a very special guest. But first of all, welcome to Everything Scuba. I am Lyell, and if you're a first-time viewer to our channel, I want to welcome you. We are glad you are here. We are here talking about, well, everything related to the sport that we love, and we hope you love it too. If you love to scuba dive into Everything Scuba. So on today's show, I'm going to introduce you to Instructor Mark Nevin. Mark is a TDI instructor, Technical Diving International, and also he's a technical instructor, but also a rebreather instructor. The past week, I've been down on one of my favorite islands, St. Croix, U.S. Virgin Islands, and he and I have been doing a certification class together. So let's talk to Mark. Today, I have a very special guest on the show, Instructor Mark Nevin. Mark and I have been working together this week on learning how to dive with a rebreather. Mark, tell me a little bit about your credentials. Who are you, what do you do, and how do you know how to run this machine?
So, like you said, I'm Mark Nevin. I run Nevin Scuba, which is my independent company. Mm-hmm. I also work a little bit for Silent Diving out of Florida. So I've got a pretty good hand in the silent world as far as the diving goes. I'm an instructor trainer on the Inspiration Rebreather, and I've been diving it for about 7 years now.
Well, I've been fascinated. Anybody that watches Everything Scuba knows that I'm a little bit of a science geek. I love diving science, and so I've been fascinated by this for a long time. And so I decided to come down to St. Croix, and Mark has had some expert tutelage, and we're going to walk you through the process of what is a rebreather. So Mark, first off, let's tell the people, in general, what is a rebreather? How does it function as a diving tool?
Yep, so a rebreather is a few basic components. It's a bag to breathe in and out of, just counter lungs we call them. So we breathe in and out of those bags. We have a way to inject oxygen or add oxygen to the rebreather as we're metabolizing that oxygen, just breathing it down. We also need a way to scrub out the CO2. CO2, since it's a closed circuit, we need it to go somewhere. So we've got soft lime to get rid of the CO2. And then we need a way to monitor the oxygen content that's in the rebreather, making sure the gas is safe for us to breathe. So those basic components of the rebreather really make it do its job.
Let's talk a little bit about many of our viewers are recreational divers, much like me. I'd never been on a unit like this. What are some of the differences between diving a rebreather versus open circuit?
So buoyancy, number one, and the biggest part is buoyancy. Because we have those counter lungs that we're breathing in and out of, we no longer have the exhale to sink and inhale to rise notion. That gives us a little bit more difficulty as we're trying to learn it because we end up getting to fight the rebreather.
Right. Yeah, I definitely noticed our first session in the water, even throughout the week, it got a little better, but we're very much used to, as recreational divers, exhaling to sink, inhaling to rise. That's not an option on this machine because you have counter lungs that are going to counteract that effect.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you guys who have watched our solo diving series, the very first episode of that solo diving series, we talked about the benefits and the misconceptions and dangers of solo diving. And so I want to introduce those concepts in regards to a rebreather. So Mark, tell me, what are some of the benefits to using this instead of open circuit for diving?
It's silent. So there's no bubbles to scare away fish. It's just being able to get so much closer to marine life. So photography is a huge, huge factor in or player in why we would want to dive a rebreather.
Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you a story. This week, Mark and I were on a dive, just the two of us. And yes, I was amazed by, again, we've got a photography series, and this is almost seems like cheating because you can get so close to fish, you don't disturb them. But the silent aspect, as we were at about 70 feet, we were out at the Frederiksted Pier, I could hear some weird moaning sounds and groans, and I was wondering, is my rebreather making this noise? Until Mark turns around and says,
It's the whales.
yeah, we could hear whale song. So that was super cool, the silent part. Let's talk about the physiological benefits of what this does for you in terms of depth and consumption of gas.
So consumption of gas is so much less because we are rebreathing the gas that we're exhaling. So we're still exhaling a percentage of oxygen back into the loop, and it's just getting supplemented with small bursts of oxygen.
Right.
So we're only using 500, 600, 700 psi of oxygen during any dive, 2-3 hours worth of dive time.
Sure. So that was one aspect that kind of blew me away. As an open circuit diver, we are very conscious of the fact that if I descend to 99 feet, my regulator has to supply 4 times the amount of gas. I can't be at 99 feet for very long, okay? Because 1, my non-decompression limit is going to be reached. 2, my gas is going to run out. But a rebreather, your diving is independent of depth. It's more in terms of the metabolic activity of your body and how it metabolizes oxygen. Am I correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So we're metabolizing a small amount of oxygen, we're scrubbing out the CO2, and then we're getting those small bursts of oxygen back in from either the solenoid or on some other rebreathers, a constant flow into the rebreather.
Right. And that's not to say you're not going to reach a non-decompression limit eventually.
Absolutely, you will.
But that was just a mind-blowing concept to me.
Yep. And in regards to reaching that no decompression limit, because this essentially becomes a Nitrox Making Machine on our back, we always have a constant partial pressure of 1.3.
Right.
So when you look at your Nitrox diving course materials, we use a maximum of 1.4 and a contingency of 1.6 partial pressures of oxygen, but we're continually at 1.3.
Right.
So if we're at 99 feet or 33 feet, we're at 1.3.
And we can even manually change our PO2 on the fly.
Exactly.
You can fly it as you want to. Yeah.
Definitely.
Crazy. Guys, this was part 1 of the interview with Instructor Nevin. If you want to learn more about this fascinating area of diving, click the link on the bottom right-hand side and check out part 2 of our interview with Instructor Nevin about rebreather diving.